Welcome. Thank you for being here and joining our project management information session. This session will be all about the PMP certification, qualifying for it, qualifying for the certification itself, training, taking the exam, and some of the best approaches or secrets to passing the exam. So I'll go through all of that. And I'll also share my personal story and how I received my PMP certification and the hurdles I went through and how I was able to overcome them. So let's start with who we are. I'm sure you're curious, who's 3T Institute. We were established in 2019 as a vocational school with the state of Virginia. So we are a certified vocational school, as well as an SBA small business and a women-owned small business as well. Our mission here at 3T is to provide a simple way of learning that's straightforward and that has an approach where we are coaching and holding you accountable to your learning schedule while we make things, the actual concepts, simple. That's our goal here. And this process then allows you to build confidence, and it's less about memorization, more about understanding, and you go in there, take the exam and pass. I'm noticing that the script is covering some of the text, so I apologize about that. We generally work with busy professionals. So if you are working a full-time job, maybe a parent or taking care of family members, someone with a pretty tight and demanding schedule, then this would be 3T Institute would be perfect for you, because our classes are generally held in the evenings or on the weekends, and our coaching that we provide is later in the evening as well. So we have the working parent, working professional in mind in all of the classes that we provide. Next, a little bit about me. So I go by Majuba or MJ. You can call me whichever you like. And so the reason I'm here and I coach and I train, it's because I am actually passionate about project management, but also because when I received my PMP, I did not like the training classes and the boot camp style of learning from the fire hose. I felt like there needed to be a new approach. So that's where you see me here as a trained instructor who's been teaching these concepts for about 8 years now. So I am a certified project manager. I do have my MBA in IT project management. Also have my Scrum Master certification from Scrum Alliance. I've been a project manager for 16 years now, which, I've worked with the federal government, nonprofit, health systems like hospital systems. Like I said, I've been teaching for the past 8 years, and I am one of the head coaches and CEO of 3T Institute. So now that we're done with all of that, let's get into a little fun script here. I need a budget estimate for my project, but I don't have a scope or a design for it yet. Okay, my estimate is $3,583,729. You don't know anything about my project. That makes 2 of us. The reality of it is many professionals who work on projects may have not received training and the concepts and standards and processes of project management. So people work through the experience they've held or knowledge that has been passed on. And most projects are successful, I would say, but some do fail, and organizations lose millions of dollars in the process. So just a little funny script here that I like to present. But I also want to say that I want this webinar to be interactive. So as I'm going through a slide, feel free, please, to just stop me and ask me questions or put it in the comment box so I can address it. Next, we're going to talk about who is this PMP for? So I always say certifications should be aligned to your career path. And you want to think about, well, what value will I get in investing my funds and time into learning and obtaining a certification? The PMP is really for those who want to be promoted and want to make at least 20 to 30% more a year. Yes, that is right. You can earn up to 30% more a year by obtaining the PMP because it does rewire your brain. You understand the concepts differently, and you're able to connect with the business by using the same terminology and understanding processes. So you'll be thinking differently, and you will be a trained project manager, a certified project manager, which increases your value. And that's where you will be set apart from your peers who may not be certified. And you'll see things differently. You'll be able to zone out and zone back in, or focus out and focus back into the project, and even project into programs into portfolios. What does all of that look like? And then what's the objective of the project? So now you're not just talking about the product that needs to be delivered, but overall objective to the organization. So you'll set yourself apart there. And those looking to learn how to manage projects from start to finish. So I have to say there's many standards of project management, and PMI is one of the standards that is pretty popular, because I think PMI has done a great job of really showcasing their standard and showing its value to organizations. So if you're someone who says, I really want to learn project management, then this is absolutely your class. Any questions so far that I can help answer? And it's just the three of us, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask. All right, if none, let's go ahead and move forward. Here's the thing, before you can sit for the PMP exam, you do have to qualify. So what this means is that you'll need 36 months of project management experience. Now, this means you having worked on a project, and we'll define what a project is. A project has a start and a finish date, and it's undertaking to produce a result, a product, or a service. So there's a reason projects are started, and they don't go on forever. So if you want to look back at your experience and say, oh, well, I've worked on projects where it didn't go on forever. It wasn't operations like accounting, daily accounting work or daily help desk work, then yes, it would qualify under the definition of a project. So once we review your experience, and this is a really good time for you to ask me questions if you don't know whether you qualify or not. And so once you determine that, yes, you do have the 36 months, and I do want to say that the 36 months is for those that have a bachelor's degree. So if you have a bachelor's degree or a higher degree, then it's 36 months of project management experience. Alongside that, you'll also need an additional 35 hours of project management training. Now, you do want to get this from an authorized training partner or someone whose curriculum is up to date to the PMP exam 2023. Once you have taken those 35 hours, then you can go ahead and create your PMP application on PMI.org's website, at which point PMI will review all of the data that you've put inside of your application, and within 5 to 7 days, you'll get an approval or an audit. So it really depends. And an audit's pretty simple now. I would say they haven't made it, it's not as complicated. In my time, we had to, this is 8-9 years ago, we had to actually send a copy of a resume and get physical signatures. It's not like that anymore. So that's a plus sign. Now, if you fall in the category of having a high school degree and an associate's degree, you can still get your PMP. You just need to have 60 months of leading or working on projects. Again, it has to fall within that definition that I mentioned. There has to be a start date and a finish date. and the outcome needs to be a service, a product, or some sort of a result. And then the rest is pretty much the same. You'll need your 35 hours of education. You'll also need to complete a successful PMI, PMP application. Now, if you don't fit in any of these categories, then you may need to think about getting your certified associate project management certification. I won't go into the details of those, but based on this information, please put in the chat box, do you qualify? Or maybe you've already gone through that. Yes or no?
So quick question. Right now, I've got 20 months experience. I'm currently a project manager, a senior project manager. So I've got 20 months experience of project management. So you're saying you need 35 hours of the education, and then obviously to complete a successful completion of the PMI or PMP application to get this certification?
Correct. But I'm curious, is this your first professional job, or have you held any other positions where you may have worked on projects?
Well, yeah, it depends on. So previously, right when I got out of college, so I have a college degree, criminal justice, bachelor's degree. I was a probation officer, promoted to a lead probation officer in my district for 8 years. So I did a 180, and I've currently been a project manager now. Was actually promoted a few months ago to a senior project manager for about 20 months now with my current company. So I don't know if you could use being a probation officer as project completion. Again, I ran caseloads from start to finish. So I don't know how in depth that needs to be.
Yeah, what we should probably do is I would love to get a copy of your resume. And once I read some of the experiences and have an in-depth conversation with you, I bet you anything that we can use your past experience to qualify you. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah, I just need to take a look at your resume, and then that way I'll be 100% sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send you that over.
Perfect. And then, sorry, Rachel, any questions here about qualifying? Do you know if you qualify, or do you have any questions I can help answer in reference to that?
As of right now, I think I'll be able to qualify. My sister's a project manager too. She's been kind of helping me navigate through everything. And she suggested that I would do this webinar this afternoon with you. So I'm just trying to kind of listen and see everything that you have to offer as far as your experience and information, because you're a seasoned PMP. So
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you have an inside, someone who can give you all the details. But yeah, let's go through the webinar, and if you have any questions, just ask.
Okay, I do have a question. Sure. Do you think that it's better to do the captain first, or to just jump right into the PMP certification?
Yeah, that's a great question. Now, let's talk about it in terms of your experience. How many years of professional experience do you have?
Let's see. A solid 6 years.
6 years. And what is your highest level of education?
Bachelor's degree in sociology.
All right. And then how many years have you worked on projects?
Let's see. So I started working doing like community coordination and stuff along those lines, like a program coordinator back in 2018.
Okay.
So since then, kind of just doing that same line of work.
Yeah. So for you, the CAPA won't bring a lot of value to your profession or set you apart in the market or get you additional money. It sort of will be, it'll just be an add-on to your resume. So you want to think about it from that perspective. Now, what you're going to learn in the CAPM course is the fundamentals of project management, which the PMP class already covers. So
Right.
I highly recommend that you go for your PMP, because that PMP will give you a lot more credibility in the job market, and you'll be hired as a project manager because you'll be trained in the concepts. So I say that based on what you shared, definitely go for the PMP. The CAPM will not serve you.
Okay. So I'm currently enrolled in the PMP certification course,
Mhm.
and I've been working on that.
Perfect.
And that's with SSGI.
Yeah, I haven't heard of them, but I'm sure you're in good hands. And I'll give you some tips. Yeah, I'll give you some tips, and hopefully that'll help you while you're in that class how to best prepare.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yes, you're welcome. All good news. All righty. So let's go through and sort of understand, why is it that this certification is so valuable? And I have put the screen on here because it's important to understand what you're going to be learning. You'll be learning about 3 domains. So each of these boxes here that you see are considered a process domain. So the first domain here is the people domain. And this is where you learn a lot about managing teams, leadership, working with a team, ensuring that your team understands what the vision is for the project, collaboration, mentoring your team members, as well as higher ups at the organization. So it's a great domain for those who say, I want to be a better project manager. I want to lead my team. I want to make sure that my team and I work in collaboration versus this micromanaging approach. Box number 2 is your process domain. Now, this is everything that has to do with creating your project management plans, understanding the different tools and techniques, and getting comfortable with your schedule management plan, creating it, understanding why they're created, understanding the whole procurement process, the request for proposals, request for information, contracts, vendor agreements. We also learn a lot about ensuring that there's a continuous path to knowledge sharing, and that individuals on your team feel comfortable enough to share knowledge. Because I can tell you, I've been a project team member where I've been so intimidated that I haven't really shared my ideas. Well, how do you as a PM make sure that there's a positive environment where your team feels like they can share that? And the importance of sharing knowledge. The last domain is more strategic. Now we're getting more in the side of the business acumen knowledge that every project manager should have. Because one of the questions you as a PM want to ask yourself is, why is it that the organization is spending millions of dollars on this project? What's the vision here? What's the business case? And what are the benefits? And so that's what you're going to be learning in the business environment domain. I always say that this PMP certification, the training, is like a mini master's. You really understand the ins and outs of project management, and it allows you to then help your organization accomplish their project management goals, and for you to be successful and for the organization to be a success. On the next slide, I'll show you the flow of how this will work, the domains in motion, as I like to say it. With the first thing we're going to start with, and I'll show with my little pointer here, is creating a high-performing team. Because, and you guys can put this down in the chat box, we all know that without a good team, the project will fail. It will not be successful. So part of it is always the people. Let's bring on the right skills. Let's bring on the people that understand what we're working on. And let's bring people who are coachable, right? Maintain engagement and collaboration and transparency. So that's you're creating a high performance team. And once you have them, then you start the project. After that, you do the work of the project. You start creating your deliverables and having them reviewed for compliance. Then as a project manager, we make sure that our team is on track, right? Are they doing the work that we planned for? Are we on track with schedule? Are we on track with cost, and et cetera? And that's where this box here comes into play. Lastly, as we're doing our project work, don't forget the business. Ensure that you're continuously showing value, because if you want your project to be funded, the organization has to remember who you are and what your project does, so that you don't lose your resources. So that's the entire flow of project management. Any questions here? Please feel free to ask any questions you like. All righty. Nope, didn't work. Okay. So now in the next slide, we'll talk about what is part of the knowledge that you'll be getting. Put in the comment box, anyone here familiar with Agile, or maybe has a Scrum Master certification, or maybe you're working in an organization where Agile is being used?
I'm not familiar with, I've heard of the Scrum Master certification, but I do not have it, and no, I'm not familiar with this approach.
It's taken on like wildfire. And I'll talk about why. Agile welcomes change. It's not so stringent. And it's also helpful because organizations will say, hey, look, I want to start a project, but I only want to commit for the first 3 months because my needs, I only know what I want for the first 3 months. And an example I can give you in that is maybe you'll have a customer who wants you to help them build a website, but they really don't have the entire website envisioned. They only know what their web address is and maybe the homepage. So they'll hire an Agile team who will just develop that part of the requirements that they have. Maybe they'll do the work in the first 2 to 3 weeks, confirm that with the customer. The customer says, yeah, this is exactly what I envisioned. And perfect, let's go on and begin our next 2 weeks of work. Or the customer might be like, you know what, you got this completely wrong. And I don't want to work with you anymore. We're done. And so that's why Agile, it's incremental, it's step by step. You're working a lot closely with your customers. They're involved in the daily work of the project. So you can confirm with them. Do you like this? Yes, no, all right, let's fix it. So it's agile, it's adaptable. And so the exam teaches you the agile approach and the hybrid approach of managing projects, mixing the waterfall and the agile, but also teaches you the waterfall approach. That's more of a step-by-step process. With a predictive approach or waterfall, both mean the same thing, your customer knows exactly what they want from day one. Then you can create your scope and your requirements and your cost and all of that stuff based on their needs and wants, because they already know it. So we're going to learn about what does that look like in terms of project management in a predictive methodology and an agile or adaptive methodology or environment. And then what happens if we decide to mix the two? Then what? What does that look like? So we're going to learn about all of that. Any questions here in terms of waterfall or agile? All right, well then let's get to the exam. You might be curious about this one. Exam details. The exam is 4 hours and 20 minutes long. It's a proctored exam, which means books are closed, you're in a room by yourself, clean desk, and you can't use any resources. If you're at a testing center, someone will be watching you through a window or a camera. If you're at home taking the exam, which is an option, someone will be watching, like I'm watching you guys, through a camera. And if you move, if you are reading, you know, with sort of like moving your lips while reading the questions, they'll tell you to stop. If you are looking away way too many times, they'll tell you to stop. If the test taker does not follow the rules, they may ask you to stop your exam and reschedule it, or they may fail the person. The exam, like I said, you have 4 hours and 20 minutes. You are allowed to take 2 10-minute breaks. And just know that when you take those 10-minute breaks, the timer doesn't stop. So if you come in later than 10 minutes, then just know that you've missed some time to take your exam. You don't have to take these breaks, they're optional. So I do recommend at least one break should be taken. Drink a sip of water, have your protein bar, take a quick break, and then go back in and finish your exam. Just so that you all know, once you agree to taking a break, you will not have access to the questions that you've already answered. So it will not be open. Question styles, you have 185 questions total on the exam. You'll have some fill in the blanks, multiple choice questions, which makes up about 95% of the questions on the exam. Make 2 selections, 2 right answer selections, and then target or hotspot selections. So you might have an earned value management graph, and then you take your mouse and you click on, you have to click, depending on what the question is, on a part of a graph to indicate your understanding of being able to read a particular graph or diagram or a metric. I'll take questions if you have any. Here's how to best prepare for the exam. Rachel, I know you're currently in a class, so this part might be really helpful for you. The way you want to think about preparation for this exam is in 2 parts. Part 1 is about understanding the fundamentals of project management, the standards through PMI's materials. You can't use another standards material to pass this exam. You want to use the PMI's created materials for the PMP exam in order for you to pass. You then also have to understand the way I explained the 3 domains, people, process, and business environment, what happens in each of them. It is also really good to learn from someone who is a trained coach, someone who has an experience, because they can elaborate and give you examples instead of just reading from the slides. You also want to understand your role as a project manager. Remember, this is an exam to test your knowledge of, do you know how to manage a project? So when you read the questions, you want to envision yourself as a project manager who's solving a current situation, and how would you deal with it based on the standards of project management that you've just learned. So right now, first part is taking the training and learning to understand. Once you've done that, part 2, then you want to take mock exam questions. And every question you get wrong and every question you get right, you want to say, did I know the answer or did I guess it? And if I got it wrong, why? Was it a definition or was it a process? And that's how you're going to build your confidence, and you'll pass on the first try. Unlike Thomas, congratulations on being promoted to a senior PM, which is amazing. For me, before getting my PMP, I did get my MBA, paid a lot of money for it. And I wasn't really getting the recognition I wanted to get. And there's sort of like always this block. And I remember, at that time I had started a family and I wanted to make more money. And I thought the MBA would get me that, but actually it was the PMP. So when I received my MBA, I went to HR and they're like, congratulations, here's your 3% raise. And I said, all right. And then at that time, I remember my COO was like, well, do you have that? You have your PMP? Because one of our clients is looking for that. And I was like, no, what is that? And once he told me, I said, all right, I need this certification. Looks like it's needed if you're working on projects or in the project management industry. So I went ahead and enrolled in a boot camp, which was, like a 5-day class. And honestly, it was intense learning. I probably napped a lot because, so much, you get overwhelmed by the amount of information that's given. And it was hard, and part of it, what made it hard was also me being a mom, full-time working, and sort of never having the time to study. And that can be hard. I had to depend on myself because the boot camp was over. And at that point, I did give up on the idea of getting the PMP, and until a coworker said, "Hey, Big Mouth, heard you talk about this PMP. Are you done? Did you get certified?" And I was like, "No, I think I'm going to give up on it." And she was like, "No, you can't. You've been talking about it. You cannot give up on it. You need to go do it." And thank God for Loretta for keeping me accountable to my own goals. And you don't have a lot of colleagues like that, you know, who are invested in your goals. So I appreciated that. And then I went back to the drawing board and I said, "All right, Majuba, what are you going to do now?" So I created a plan for myself, which is the 6-week program that actually now is the blueprint to 3T Institute and how I teach. And held myself accountable, utilized the resources I knew, sort of Googled some, people gave me some of their materials, used what the class had given me, and I got my PMP. And I want to remind everyone, or I like to say this, I didn't get like excellent scores in all 3 domains, or at that time was 5 process groups, but I passed. And I didn't get above target or anything, but I passed. And so that's all that matters for this certification. You either pass or you fail. And I passed and I was very happy. And of course, I'm a big mouth. I went and told everyone, including the CEO, COO, who said, "Do you have your PMP?" And yeah, I went to him. I ended up getting promoted to a project manager, managed my own team of 8. I had the skills, the PMP gave me the confidence, and I'm also inherently, you know, someone who just doesn't like to be, I'm competitive, let's put it that way. So I fought my way in that organization and that ended up getting a $30,000 raise, and I was happy. I'm super happy. So that's sort of like what the certification gets you, right? It does need, the curriculum builds your confidence to go out there and say, "I know this stuff and this is what I deserve." Here's some secrets, right? There is the hard way. And the hard way is taking a boot camp. I hope none of you are enrolled in one of those, but I try to stay away from them because it's intense and then you have zero support afterwards. We have a weekend class, but then we provide coaching and accountability. So I'll show you all what that looks like. Learning from YouTube is good, but to pass this exam and only depend on YouTube is not a good approach. Mock exam questions, there some outdated ones? So Googling them, you might get some, but they may be wrong. Using free resources, you don't know if it's updated or not. So be careful there. Trying a self-paced class. I know Udemy probably offers like a $1.99 PMP class, unless if you're really, really, really self-disciplined and can self-study, then you can try that. Using materials that are outdated, depending on yourself to see if you're ready, and then spending months or worse, sometimes years studying. Some take the exam and they fail it on the first time, and then on the second try, they're like, "I know what to do now." So our course, what we try to do is, let's get you to pass on the first try. That's why we have all of these different milestones in place for our students. But here's some secrets to passing. First, focus on the exam content outline. That is what PMI uses to create their questions. So download it, understand what's within the exam. Oh, I love Stephanie. She's awesome. Tell her I said hi. Understand the difference between real life project management and the standard. They're 2 different things. And when you're taking these mock exams, you can't mix the 2. You want to focus on, I am a PMI, a project manager. What does the standard tell me to do versus real life experience? Secret 3, don't accept defeat. Yes, there will be times where you want to give up. Yes, it's going to get hard. Yes, it will be, you will do bad on certain mock exams, but don't give up. Do not give up. Any questions so far I can help answer?
I think my biggest challenge right now is trying to figure out what direction to go in terms of like what will be my niche. Um, would it be IT? Will it be something in a different direction? How did you find your niche? Like what within project management, what was your thing? How'd you figure out what your thing was?
It's a good question. My first project out of college was an engineering project. So I worked for USAID, and then I got laid off and worked for Booz, went into finance, something completely different. The next job came up and they're willing to train me, and I took it. But then when I was thinking about higher education and enrolled in the MBA, I knew IT was like where you would make money, and that's what the next trend was. So I sort of went with the trend, and I got my MBA in IT project management. And my first role on a project was on an IT project, but I wasn't doing IT work. But when I got the opportunity, I took it, and I said, okay, this is close. At least I'm in the industry. So it's sort of like what opportunities are coming your way, and is it getting you, say that it may be a role in an organization that, what is your background? Like, where do you want to be? What industry do you like?
Um, that's a tough one. I do like IT, but I think my biggest challenge for me is when I actually think about doing project management work within that industry, it makes me feel a little intimidated. I I do like IT. I like doing technological work, but just the project management part of it makes me feel overwhelmed. Like, oh my goodness, I don't know. That's gonna be too much for me.
And that's normal to feel. But what I can tell you is, when you go into a new industry, Rachel, no one's really going to give you a project management role, because they're going to expect for you to have managed some projects. So you'll sort of in that industry, right? And I want you to think about it this way: if you switch industries completely, there might be you may not get a salary increase. The way you want to think about it is, what skills do I have, and what are my transitional skills, transformational skills that I can then pass over into another industry, whether that's IT, whether that's engineering, construction, health. What skills do I have now that can then transfer into this other industry that I want to go into? And then what are the position titles I can apply for? So sometimes when you find your transitional skills or transferable skills, then you're not having to take a reduced salary because your experience matches. So see what can get you closer to that industry you want to be in. Look at your resume, find positions that you're interested in. Like if it is an IT, like I wouldn't necessarily go for an IT project manager role. That's going to probably require 5 to 6 years of experience in IT project management. But can you go in as a project analyst in an IT project, or a program analyst, or an assistant project manager? The role will teach you everything. You just have to say to yourself, I may not know it, but I know where to get the information. As long as you can say that to yourself, because I know you're resourceful, I know you're intelligent, you're a professional, and so you'll find the answers. We don't know. I didn't know everything when I became a project manager, but I knew who to go to and where to look to find the solutions to my problems.
Okay. I think sometimes like I'll try to like type in different areas of project management that you can go into. I do see IT quite a bit. Is there an area in which you could kind of look and kind of see what different areas that you can go in when it comes to finding a good space for you?
You know what? I just created a guide. It's the Ultimate Project Management Guide. Remind me, I'll send you the link to that. And I have a lot of that information in there where it has titles for IT projects. Again, the titles are so different. You want to look at, and so when you're working on IT projects, you also have to understand some IT lingo, like the software development lifecycle, right? What does that look like? What is requirement, understanding UAT testing, quality metrics? A lot of that you should be learning already in your class. UAT, quality assurance, but this class does not talk about software development lifecycle. Learn that a little better, because when you go on an interview for an IT position, it doesn't matter which one it is, they're going to expect you to understand that lifecycle. So get familiar with that, and then sort of say to yourself, yes, this is easy concept, or no, I need reinforcement through an actual training class or whatever. So there you'll need to increase your knowledge a little bit more in IT before you can go into that field. Or if you're a risk taker, you look at your skill sets that align with the position, and then get coached, and then interview for the position and see what happens. Or sometimes you can find an insight, or someone who already works for a company and they're willing to give a referral a chance, and then sometimes you get in that way, and that organization's willing to train you. But be the squeaky wheel, ask around, apply even if you're qualified about 60%, and see what happens. Go through some of the interviews, see what kind of questions they ask you, get your feet wet, and that's how you'll know. And the right position will land. You'll land in the right position.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thomas, any thoughts?
No, just listening. So just very informative, and I'm interested to see if my past job will qualify towards it. But again, I have 20 months so far, so I'm on my way to obviously being there. But my project management experience is in telecom, so that's currently where I'm at. But that is where I would like to stay. I mean, I'm open to other things, but I've learned a ton in my 20 months in this industry so far.
That's awesome. That's great. And I bet you anything that we can find the remainder of your experience in your previous position. So we'll take a look after this webinar. All right, this diagram here, since I talk about our process so much, I've created this for you to see it in steps. It's good to break it down this way. So there is a step one, whatever training class you're taking or one with us, you do have to attend that, pay attention, take really good notes. That's your step two. Enroll, step 1, 2, during the class, stay focused, drink your water, have your tea. You have to stay caffeinated, take your light notes. For us at 3T, we have a student community where we maintain engagement even if there aren't live class sessions. And we have weekly coaching. Aside from the live training, we have weekly coaching that's going to help individuals understand the concepts. And step 3 and 4 sort of happen at the same time. So as you're finishing up all the lectures and you get your certification certificate of completion, when you're in exam prep, you're also within the community and attending coaching calls. So we don't ever really let you go. We also have a 30-day exam prep calendar, and you join the weekly coaching calls, you ask questions. I also have a check-in with you to make sure that you're good to go before you even sit for the exam. So then you become a project manager and you can check off the goal. So this is our 5-step process to getting your PMP. Here are some testimonials from our students. I swear I haven't paid them to write these, but we're happy to help everyone. We've got the busy working dad who needs to pass on the first try. We've had students who failed more than once with the boot camp, and we've helped them. These are our actual students, actually. So John took a university course, unfortunately didn't pass, because those university courses focus on, some don't focus on passing the PMP, and they stretch it out so much that you sort of forget what you've learned. Marquise is single mom who needed to pass on the first try. We helped her. We've had Andre who has exam anxiety. We actually work with individuals who have exam anxiety and help them overcome it so they can pass the exam. We do have individuals who English isn't their first language and they sort of need that confidence boost that they will pass. And they do. All these individuals pass on the first try. We here at 3T like to work with those who are willing to learn, who want to pass on the first try. We give a lot of accountability. So I'm like, okay, if you don't like accountability, maybe this isn't the program for you. If you like structure, this is a great program. We, like I said, hold you accountable to your goals, give you the green light before you actually take the exam. And we love working for those that fight for their goals. So, and we fight right along you. Here are some upcoming classes for us. Like I said, we have a weekend class that's coming up in February, Saturday, Sunday, 9 to 5. It's currently open for enrollment. So it is, 4 days, Saturday, Sunday, and then we give you access to the structured learning, coaching, and accountability. So even after you're done with this class, you're not really done. You're still in the program until you pass. For those that like to take it a little bit, stretch it out a little bit and learn in micro sessions, which is also great. And we have a March 7th to April 6th class. These are only on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:15 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And they're all conducted through Zoom or Microsoft. We also have a fundamentals of project management classes for project management managers or individuals who are beginners. And so we have that class. It's an all-day class on Saturday that goes over the fundamentals of project management based on PMI. Any questions about the classes or any other questions? I'll take them. All right. So here's why you should take a class with 3T. I know I'm being biased. So our curriculum's updated. We have live lectures plus an e-learning portal. We have our own mock exam bank. We send you hard copy books as well as soft copy books, and you get the slides. We have a student network. We have weekly coaching calls in addition to the live classes, unlimited access to everything until you pass, student evaluation before you take the exam. You also get hands-on project management templates. So I give you projects and you actually work through them as if it's your job. So if you want to talk to me a little bit more, then you can scan this QR code with your phone, open up your camera on your phone, point to this QR code, and my schedule link will come up. And we can talk a little bit more in detail about your enrollment into the program or qualification. So I'll leave that on for a moment. And we're almost done. Ooh, I used a whole hour. I know this is a different way, but I always say there's always, it's a new way, it's a better way than the traditional style learning. So I'm hoping to have your picture here and as a certified project manager, and that brings us to the end of our presentation. And what I can do right now is take questions, or if you don't have any questions, I want to thank you for taking the time today to join this webinar. If you know anyone else that's interested in the PMP certification, please share. We have another live session coming up, information session coming up. Ooh, I should have this memorized. February 2nd, same time. So if you know anyone else that wants to join or get their PMP, if you felt this was helpful, pass on the info to them.